I swear to you, when it comes to One Piece fans just eat. Regardless if you want to talk about the anime, regardless if you want to talk about a newer anime that's gonna come out that started from the beginning for a whole bunch of people that don't want to watch up to 1,000 episodes, which is kind of fair because there's also some filler and no pacing issues. But besides the movies that are beautiful and has sometimes significant to the story, and lastly the live action. The live action for One Piece is fucking amazing.
Like, comment, subscribe, it helps.
There's a lot of things to love about it, and then there's also some things that you might bat an eye to if you're a One Piece head like myself, but in the same breath there also has to be a lot of understanding, but we'll get to that in a second. I was slowly awaiting this season specifically because this has one of my favorite arcs and one of my favorite moments, and one of the moments I wish I can get like a tattoo of, and it's easily Chopper's backstory. Chopper's backstory is one of my favorite backstories in all One Piece, at least top 5, top 3. It has a moment where I tear up every single time, and if I watch that moment over and over and over again, I promise you I will start fucking crying. So you can understand I really want them to do Drum Island really fucking good. And I have to tell you, they did a really good job when it came to Drum Island. It was a lot of the emotions that I did feel when I did watch the anime come to life in a more live action setting. Now, is it better than the anime? No, it is not. Is it better than the manga? No, it is not. I'm not gonna just sit there and act like that. It set the ultimate precedent for this exact moment of what happened in the manga or the anime. But what I will say is I do have a certain expectation when it does come to live action, and it fucking exceeds it. Not only on Drum Island, but the anime so far as a whole. Now, I'll get back to Drum Island, but let me just talk about everything I liked before Drum Island itself. Now, it's just the changes in general. I really do love these changes. There have been multiple changes either in Drum Island or even before Drum Island that have been very much amazing. Regardless if it's in Whiskey Peaks and you're talking about how Zoro kind of has this infatuation with Mihawk in a sense of I fucking lost and I literally can't do anything about it. I have to get stronger. What am I going to inherently do? And he sees visions of Mihawk being like, that was too great. If that was me, I'll definitely do a better job. Giving more layer and context for Zoro in that moment and how he's feeling and how he really went through a completely traumatic experience to become a better person. And I love the fight that he does have in Whiskey Peaks from the manga more than I do love it from the live action. But the live action basically carries most of the essence of that scene itself. The only thing I do miss is kind of Miss Monday. Miss Monday specifically, I do wish that she would look differently, more of like a more buff black lady. And then I do want the moment of him like kind of grabbing her face. I know that sounds kind of fucked up, but it was a cool fucking moment. What can I say? But now one of my favorite characters is Luffy. Luffy also had a conversation with Zoro, and he's talking to like, hey, it's all about the journey. Hey, you shouldn't like really like let this get you worked up. You were going to level up. It just takes time, and we have to gradually get there, right? And this is the thing with Luffy. Luffy's always been this headstrong, optimistic god genius when it comes to people in this crew, and usually you can see that a lot from other characters you will see in the show, maybe a Goku, maybe a Naruto, but in this context it's completely different. For this context, it's used for a world that is inherently being pushed down and shoved down to the ground for anyone that is a lower being, whether you want to talk about literally or figuratively. We're talking about rich, whether you want to talk about poor. With Luffy being so optimistic, it fuels other people. It fuels other people from how they felt from before they had went into this horrible time period, or giving them optimism that they never had before this, filling a void that they didn't know that was there in the first place. Luffy really is the embodiment of how things should inherently be. It shouldn't be let's think about the moment, let's think about how this is going to affect X, Y, and Z. No, the obvious answer is X, Y, and Z. Some of the shining examples being, hey, why are all the 20 MD doctors in Drum Island going with Wappo and only being with the king? They should obviously be with all the people to make sure all the people are okay. Or why does Wappo have the mindset of I only need power, screw all the people? No, the obvious answer is we should always work for the people, not for the king. Or even just with Chopper. Chopper, you literally should join our crew. We're monsters, we're good people, we're people that will treat you right, we will be your friends. The things that you never had, the things that you never knew or felt that you needed, we can fill that void. Now, as you all know, that's not how the world works at all. Now, as much as we would wish that to be the case, there are a lot of situations where you have to think about the ramifications of what you're doing, or what could inherently happen, or what we could do better, or what would ultimately be the best decision to make. And now we enter Vivi. Vivi herself is someone that inherently thinks a lot, but she doesn't want to think inherently for herself, but she thinks about everyone around her. She sees that point of view from Luffy, but she wants to inherently do it the right way in her eyes. They're both two sides of the same coin. With her, she actually says, you know what, we have to actually just do the best decision. We have to sit here, we gotta wait, we gotta think. I can't inherently let things run amok. I'm gonna have to stop Luffy, just like how she had to stop him even when she had got shot and he needed to get Nami help for this specific village. She's like, I'll literally bow down if I have to and show you guys we are not a threat. Please let us inside of the village. Or when she let Wapol just straight up slap her and she didn't want to inherently tell the king because she knew it would cause a war. She understood that she cared a lot about her people, and she understood, hey, I had to be a grown-up even if I don't want to be in the situation, because it's not only my feelings or my well-being at stake, it's people, but also the sake of their people as well. Showing that in that scene that Vivi was way more of a king than Wapol can ever dream of being. Self-centeredness, especially in the act of king, will only lead to your detriment and downfall, and Wapol definitely reached the downfall. And speaking of Wapol, I did like the changes they did do with Wapol of like having his soldiers fuse and them being like kind of super soldiers. I felt like they were a little too OP, but they were a very good little add to it, so everyone has something to inherently do. Then there's other two big changes that I really do like, of them bringing stuff that comes in like hundreds of chapters later to the forefront now, so it gives more added context or more things added to do in the arc, and we can kind of just keep moving forward inherently. Like for example, Belmetho, him actually being there and witnessing all the events go down and him seeing the inspiration kind of flourish in his eyes, and him saying, oh, I love Luffy, Luffy's the best, Luffy's like my dad, or the fuck the case is. Then there's also Sanji and them kind of toning it down a lot from the anime and manga of how like lovey-dovey is with a lot of the women. Now that's still inherently there, but it's toned down a lot more, so he's a lot more tolerable, I guess, as a character for some other people. But for Sanji, I do love that they actually put in his backstory of, oh, him talk about his mom, how sick she was, and him trying to help Nami, and that brings in so much context for his character for that scene, and kind of why he also went with Luffy to make sure that Nami is safe and she's good. This being a traumatic response that he would tell Nami if they were in this situation, about how his past made him feel to an extent, but not too far, because we have to then talk about it later on and give it more context later on the story. And then there's also the Chopper backstory with Dr. Hiriluk. They do a lot of the essence of that backstory very much well and very much justice, getting emotions just right for the scenes in Drum Island, but they also do it for Laboon as well, when they give a little bit more added context when you add in Brook and how the pirates kind of left them, but only to a bit of an extent. We're not gonna tell you the full story. But going back to Drum Island, when it comes to Hiriluk, I do love his backstory a lot. It makes me definitely tear up and almost want to cry, because it's him wanting his country to change. We heal things physically all of the time, but we have to heal it mentally. We have to heal the idea and the psyche of this depression, fear, and hatred that we have. We have to annihilate it. We have to get it out of here, because it makes us do rash and unresponsible and disgusting decisions, like shooting Chopper, even though we don't know who Chopper is. And I can understand if you saw Yeti, you might get really scared, you know, but still, once we can be kind with one another and treat each other well, we can make the first step, the first real big step. It's from small people that learn that, like the villagers that were there that shot the Straw Hats, and they're like, oh, we're sorry, we're just really regular civilians, to them wanting to actually help out in the final last bit of the arc, wanting to shoot and kind of kill the soldiers that are combined, even though they can't really inherently do anything, they have to inherently try. Then there's also Dalton, who couldn't even stomach anymore, and in the scene he actually starts crying because he wants to have the same belief system he has. He wants to have faith in the people. He wants his kingdom to be a place where he can call home again, that doesn't have this tyrannical ruler that doesn't care about anyone but himself. Then there's also Dr. Kuea, who in the end even ends up helping not only the citizens in the end of the arc, but she also gives Chopper all of his supplies, but she does it in her own way of saying like, get the fuck out of here, you literally didn't do anything, just trying to push him out to make sure that he actually leaves, because she knows it's the right decision to do. And then even lastly, shooting up Dr. Quack's last thing that he always wanted, was to have cherry blossoms bloom inside Drum Island. Then there's Chopper, and I feel like we should have went a little more deeper into his involvement with his also reindeer family, which we don't get a lot of context at all. I don't think we get any context at all in the live action, because it puts more emphasis on his wanting of belonging and him not having anything at all, no friends, no family, not really having anything that he can hold and cherish and care for. until we get to Dr. Hurlook, who actually takes care of him and treats him well, even gives him lessons on to becoming a doctor. And when he loses him, you have Luffy, who kind of fills in that void of the optimism of he is Dr. Hurlook to an extent. He has his ideals, he has the things that he loved about Dr. Hurlook and why he wants to join the crew at the same time. Last thing I want to talk about is definitely the understanding. It kind of things getting like cut out, or things not having a lot more emphasis in other things. Like for example, when we get to Little Garden, and some scenes aren't really done because we have to know that, hey, we have a budget and there's gonna be a lot of CGI and a lot of big things coming in and out, so we can't inherently do every single thing from the arc, but we could do kind of our own thing and kind of our own spin with what we have. You know, I know we have millions of fucking dollars, but that's besides the point. Some budget has to go to one thing, some budget has to go to other things. But yeah, no, I love the One Piece live action. If you're into One Piece live action season 1, you're gonna love season 2. And if you want to get into One Piece at all, you definitely 100% should. It is a beautiful, amazing story. And yeah, that's pretty much all I gotta say. So like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.